Why do some millionaires wear plain clothes, drive ordinary cars, and seem to live like normal people? It's an intriguing question because it completely shatters the image we usually have of the rich. We imagine the millionaire in a tailored suit, the latest sunglasses, a villa with an infinity pool, and a garage full of luxury cars. However, when we look at reality, we discover a striking contrast. Many very wealthy men and women live with a disconcerting simplicity. Take Warren Buffett, one of the richest investors on the planet. Despite his colossal fortune, he still lives in the same house he bought in 1958. No gilded palace, no bling, just a low-key, almost mundane life. Ingvar Kamprad, the founder of IKEA, had exactly the same profile. He often traveled economy class, drove an old Volvo, and dressed casually. Even Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, frequently appears in a simple grey t-shirt and jeans, without extravagance. So why this paradox? Why do those who could flaunt everything choose instead discretion? Is it a strategy, a habit, a philosophy of life? Or is there a deeper logic that most of us have never understood? The truth is, there's a very real, and often hidden, reason behind this apparent simplicity. A reason that upends our view of wealth and reveals a mindset that only those who truly understand the value of money embrace. And that's exactly what we're going to explore together. When we think of the word millionaire, the image that springs to mind is almost always the same. A huge villa by the sea, a sports car parked in front of it, a glittering gold watch on our wrist, and a dream vacation in the most beautiful hotels in the world. The media, films, and especially social media have shaped this vision. We see movie stars posing in front of their private jets, influencers flaunting luxury bags and extravagant parties, or professional athletes spending fortunes on exotic cars and expensive jewelry. Since childhood, we associate wealth with ostentation. Being rich, in the collective imagination, means showing that you are rich. And if you don't show it, it's because you're not really rich. This perception is so ingrained that it pushes thousands of people to live beyond their means just to appear rich, even if it means going into heavy debt to buy a luxury car or designer clothes. The obsession with appearance becomes a trap, and many fall into it. But the reality is quite different when you look closely at the lives of many discreet millionaires. Some drive cars that don't attract attention, live in modest homes relative to their wealth, and prefer to spend their money on investments rather than ostentatious luxuries. The contrast is striking. On the one hand, there are those who spend to appear rich when they really aren't. On the other, there are those who are immensely wealthy but choose to be frugal and go almost unnoticed. This gap between what we believe and what is true reveals a fundamental question. Why do so many people who possess fortunes choose simplicity when they could live in total extravagance? And what if the true sign of wealth was simplicity? Money isn't just about numbers or zeros in a bank account. It's about mindset. While most people see money as a tool for consumption, millionaires see it as leverage, a means to something much more valuable: security, freedom, and growth. For many, receiving a large sum of money immediately means thinking about what to buy: a new car, a watch, a luxury trip. But for a seasoned millionaire, the logic is different. His first thought is, how can I make this money work for me and generate even more? This is a fundamental difference between those who seek to appear rich and those who choose to really be it. Looking rich means spending for image, to impress, to fill an inner void with external objects. It's displaying a status that often rests on financial fragility. We all know people who drive expensive cars but are, in reality, drowning in debt. They have the appearance of wealth, but not the stability that comes with it. Being rich, on the other hand, means building solid foundations. It means preferring quiet growth to noisy illusion. It means investing in real estate, businesses, the stock market, or projects that will bear fruit in 5, 10, or 20 years. It means understanding that the true power of money lies in its ability to multiply, not in its ability to be spent immediately. And that requires a mental discipline few people possess. Millionaires have learned to resist instant gratification, the temptation to consume everything now. They know how to wait, plan, and invest for the long term. It's not that they dislike comfort or nice things, but they choose patience, because they know that by delaying their pleasures, they're building a much more stable and abundant future. The psychology of money is therefore based on an inner transformation, seeing each euro, each dollar not as an opportunity to spend, but as a seed capable of giving birth to a forest. And it is precisely this way of thinking that separates discreet millionaires from flashy nouveaux riches. There is an invisible but very real divide between two worlds, that of the nouveau riche and that of the established rich. And this difference is not just about the amount on a bank statement, but also about the attitude adopted towards money. The new rich are often people who suddenly gain access to a large sum of money, sometimes thanks to an inheritance, a meteoric career, an exceptional contract, or even a stroke of luck. And almost always, their first instinct is to want to show this newfound wealth. The result? The latest sports cars, luxury clothing galore, sparkling jewelry, expensive parties. Their lives become a showcase, a constant display designed to impress others. But behind this shiny facade often lies great fragility. Money comes quickly, but it goes just as quickly when it is spent without strategy. Conversely, established millionaires have a much more thoughtful relationship with their wealth. Their wealth is not the result of chance, but of years of discipline, hard work, and smart investing. They don't need to prove anything to others, because their inner and financial security speaks for itself. They choose frugality, not out of lack of means, but out of vision. They know that every euro spent unnecessarily is a euro that could have grown. Take professional football, for example. How many players, barely retired, find themselves ruined after earning tens of millions during their careers? Extravagant villas, rented private jets, endless parties, and ultimately, an empty bank account. On the other hand, some athletes discreetly invest in real estate, businesses, or investment funds, and manage to make their fortune last well beyond their glory years. We could say that the new rich are primarily looking to appear, while the established wealthy prefer to build. The former live for the image, the latter for freedom. The former burn their capital quickly, the latter multiply it slowly but surely. And this is where a simple but powerful truth emerges. He who seeks to appear rich often ends up poor, while he who appears poor becomes with time even richer. When you look closely at how millionaires build and maintain their wealth, you quickly realize that it's not luck, magic, or a successful gamble. Behind their fortunes lies a well-honed strategy, consistent discipline, and a vision that goes beyond the short term. The first key is to smart savings. Contrary to popular belief, the wealthy don't simply spend lavishly. Instead, they keep a significant portion of their income to reinvest. While most people increase their spending as their income increases, millionaires continue to live within reasonable standards and save the difference. This ability to control their immediate desires gives them immense power over the long term. Then there is investment. Millionaires know that money that sits idle erodes over time. So they put it where it can grow. In real estate, which generates rents and increases in value. In businesses, which produce real wealth. And in financial markets, where the effect of compounding transforms modest sums into colossal fortunes over the years. For them, every euro is not a bill to be spent, but a seed to be planted and harvested later. Another key strategy: live below one's means. This doesn't mean depriving yourself or living in poverty, but rather refusing to fall into the trap of ostentation. Warren Buffett is the perfect example. Despite a fortune of tens of billions of dollars, he still lives in the house he bought in 1958 for just $31,000. A comfortable house, certainly, but far from the extravagant palace one would imagine for a man of his status. This choice is not a question of economics, but of philosophy. Why waste it on the useless when that money can be reinvested to create more value? Finally, the top priority of millionaires remains capital growth. Their goal is not to impress with a flamboyant lifestyle, but to ensure that their money generates ever more opportunities, more freedom and more security. Where many seek to accumulate objects to give themselves an image, they seek to accumulate assets that work for them, day and night, whether they sleep or travel. In reality, what profoundly differentiates them is not the amount of money they have today, but how they think about and use each resource. Millionaires don't chase the image of wealth. They build the foundations of lasting wealth. How we use money is not just an individual matter. It also reflects culture and upbringing. In some societies, sobriety is a central value. We learn early on that money is not meant to be displayed, but to be protected, invested, and passed on. In others, on the contrary, wealth is seen as a sign of social success that must be displayed at all costs, sometimes even to the detriment of financial stability. This is where the financial education makes all the difference. Most people grow up without any real education about money management. They are taught to work for a living, but rarely how to make money work for them. As a result, many adopt an immediate consumption mentality. They view money as a reward to be spent as soon as it arrives. The more they earn, the more they increase their spending. Sometimes, to the point where they find themselves trapped in a vicious cycle where they never truly feel secure. Conversely, someone who has received financial education, whether from family, reading, or experience, develops a radically different outlook. They understand that money is a limited resource that must be used wisely. They know that a dollar spent to impress is a dollar lost, while a dollar invested can generate $10 tomorrow. This investor mentality is built with patience and discipline. Let's take two examples. The first person receives a €10,000 bonus and rushes out to buy a more luxurious car, a state-of-the-art phone, and a few trips to enjoy life. The second person receives the same amount, but chooses to invest the majority of it in a profitable project, such as rental property or solid stocks. 10 years later, the first person wonders where all that money went. The second person sees her investments generating regular income. It is this gap between the consumer mentality and the investor mentality. This largely explains why some millionaires remain sober. Their culture and upbringing have taught them that money spent well brings lasting freedom, while money wasted brings only fleeting satisfaction. But then, why do they continue to live as if nothing had happened? If many millionaires choose to live simply, it is not only a question of philosophy or financial education. It is also, and above all, a question of security. Because the more attention you attract, the more you also attract covetousness, jealousy, and sometimes even danger. A discreet lifestyle can help avoid many problems. By living like an average Joe, a wealthy entrepreneur or successful investor blends into the crowd. No one suspects the true wealth hidden behind their modest choices. The result? Fewer envious glances, fewer rumors, and fewer temptations for those with potentially malicious intent. Discretion protects not only the individual, but also their family. Conversely, ostentation can be very costly. How many celebrities or newly rich individuals have had their lives turned upside down because they unabashedly displayed their wealth. Social media is full of examples. Influencers robbed after showing off their jewelry, stars burglarized for showing off their homes and travels, athletes targeted for their overly visible lifestyles. Showing off your wealth also means exposing your vulnerability. Being discreet means maintaining control. When no one truly knows the extent of your wealth, you retain immense freedom. You choose where to go, with whom, and how to live, without being constantly monitored or judged. Simplicity becomes a shield that allows you to move forward with peace of mind. Some millionaires who had staked everything on appearances have paid the price. Think of those former champions who lived in constant luxury, surrounded by courtiers, until the day the spotlight faded and trouble arose. Their fortunes, dissipated, left them unprotected. Their public exposure attracted unkind glances and accelerated their downfall. This is why savvy millionaires prefer discretion, not because they can't afford luxury, but because they know that exposing it too widely would undermine their peace and security. The definition of wealth is often misunderstood. Many people think that being rich means owning a Ferrari, a luxurious villa, a yacht, or a wardrobe full of prestigious brands. But for those who have truly achieved prosperity, wealth isn't an accumulation of objects. It's something much more precious: freedom. True wealth is the freedom of one's time, being able to decide what to do with one's days without being trapped by a strict schedule or a demanding boss. It's the freedom of one's mind, not living in anxiety about the end of the month, not worrying about unpaid bills or crushing debts. And above all, it's the freedom of choice, choosing who one wants to be with, where one wants to live, and in which direction one wants to move forward. Many millionaires have realized that this invisible luxury is far more satisfying than any material possessions. Instead of chasing image, they prioritize inner comfort. Some choose to travel to discreet places, far from the crowds. Others devote time to their loved ones because they know that human connections are richer than any sports car. Still others prefer to read, learn, meditate, or simply enjoy their peace and quiet. Take Bill Gates, for example. With a fortune in the tens of billions, he could indulge in any lavish indulgence. Yet when he goes on vacation,